He is somewhere. He is here in our hearts and in our spirit. So Tom, as some of you may have known, had a broken arm and was recovering from that, but he didn't let that stop him from taking over managing the facilities of our church. So he stepped up as John Cooper Ryder handed off the baton to him, and he removed 2 of the debilitated trees outside. He managed replacing the sanctuary doors. He started the system for the new fire alarm that's being installed, and he made preparations for all the new electrical work here, as well as a list of other things that he's been working on. So we thank Tom for keeping our church safe and comfortable so that we can all join here for worship and gathering and community. And speaking of people we want to honor at the church, we would really like everyone to think about people that have been impacting your life at the church or the church community and send those names and what they've done to Karen McDowell. Her information is in the news and notes so that we can recognize them and honor the people who make everything in this community happen.
I don't have anybody for next week.
And we don't have anyone for next week, so put your thinking cap on about, and keep your eyes out for who's doing things there at church. A few things just to mention that are happening at church this week. Monday evenings, Buddhist meditation is still being held virtually, and there's a link for that in news and notes. The Wise Elders are meeting this Tuesday at 3 p.m., and you can also find the link for that in news and notes. And this Saturday at 7:30 is the Play Readers group, where everyone is invited to come and have a lighthearted evening of short story readings. Looking ahead a bit, we will be hosting a Thanksgiving dinner here at church, but the space is limited. So if you'd like to come, you can sign up in the Alice Warren room, or you can contact Lauren Patelli, whose contact information is also in the news and notes. So we keep mentioning news and notes. If you're getting it, it should be coming every Friday. If you're not, please sign up in the back so that you can be getting all this great information that we've been talking about. I now encourage everyone to sit back and relax and enjoy our celebration singers led by Julia Beckman.
I'm going to invite Pam up to share a story with the young and young at heart.
Susan here today is going to talk about remembering times when you were younger. Now, I know you're already sort of young, but can you think of something that you didn't used to be able to do that you can do now? Like, I'll tell you something. When I was little, I was really shy. And I didn't like to talk to grown-ups, and I didn't like to talk in front of people. And now look at me. That's all I do is talk to people. Can you think of something that you didn't used to be able to do? Yeah. When she was little, she was afraid of dance class, and now she's not anymore. I know Henry didn't used to be able to play the piano, and now he can, right? Yeah, he practices for me sometimes, and he's getting better and better. So this story is called When I Was Little, a 4-year-old's memory of her youth. So here she is, and it says, when I was little, I was a baby. When I was little, I cried a lot, but now I use words, right? I used to cry. Oh, can you read her favorite word? No. The word is no. They can read it. When I was little, I didn't know I was a girl. My mom told me. When I was little, I had silly hair, and now I can wear it in a ponytail or braids or pigtails. Pigtails? Do you know what pigtails are? It's when one ponytail's on this side and one ponytail's on that side. Yeah, I bet. When I was little, I didn't get to eat Captain Crunch or paint my toenails bubblegum pink. When I was little, I spilled a lot. My mom said I was a handful, but now I'm helpful. When I was little, I rode in a baby car seat. Now I ride like a grown-up and wave at cars going by. Whoops. When I was little, I went to Mommy and Me class. But now I go to preschool, and I have teachers and cubbies and nap time and secrets. When I was little, I didn't understand timeouts. Now I do, but I still don't like them. And then when you get really old like me, you want timeouts. When I was little, I made up words like Scoopy-Loo, and now I make up whole songs. When I was little, I kissed my mom and dad goodnight every night. Well, I still do that. But after they each read me a story and we play tickle torture. When I was little, I didn't know what a family was. When I was little, I didn't know what dreams were. When I was little, I didn't know who I was. But now I do.
I encourage you to place your feet on the floor and hands in your lap and to take in a long, slow, deep breath. You may close your eyes if you wish. Now, picture in your mind yourself as a child, maybe 5, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Once you have a picture of young you, either say or think these words with me. May you be safe. May you feel joy. May you be loved. May you be safe. May you feel joy. May you be loved. Now picture that child taking the hand of yourself as you are now. Maybe of that person who smiled back at you in the mirror this morning. Once you have that picture in your mind, either say or follow these words with me. May you be safe. May you feel joy. May you be loved. May you be safe. May you feel joy. May you be loved. And now we'll do some more mental gymnastics. Think of future you, the you months from now or years from now. Once you have a picture of your future self in mind, take their hand and say or follow these words with me. May you be safe. May you feel joy. May you be loved. May you be safe. May you feel joy. May you be loved. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes. We enter this space bringing with us joys, concerns, challenges, and blessings. If you have something either weighing or dancing on your heart this morning, you are invited to come up to light a candle. If you wish, you can say a first name, a word, or a short phrase to share your intentions. We are on YouTube, so we encourage you to use first names only. Remember also to identify yourself by first name.
I'm Keith, and this is to the memory of our Aunt Lillian, who passed away yesterday at the age of 96 after a long, slow, and debilitating decline. May she now rest in peace.
My name is Cindy, and this candle is for my best friend who passed away last week. Her name was Alice.
It's for my brother Scott. He has been ill a long time, and he's having a rough time.
I'm Justin. This is for my mom, who I lost. She passed away about a month ago.
We light our 3 final candles for those intentions that rest silent in the sanctuary of our hearts. The first one for the joys, the second for the sorrows, and the third for this community which walks with us through both. Thank you, Jamie. That was just perfect music for that. 2 short readings this morning. The first is by Anais Nin. We do not grow absolutely, chronologically. We grow sometimes in one dimension and not another, unevenly. We grow partially. We are relative. We are mature in one realm and childish in another. The past, present, and future mingle and pull us forward, backward, or fix us in the present. We are made up of layers, cells, and constellations. And from Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living.
Ours is a forward-looking culture, isn't it? In fact, a central imperative built into the American ideal is that reinventing ourselves, shaking the dust off, and stepping into the sun anew is our birthright. For one of the critical traits and promises of the American identity involves pursuing happiness, not looking backward for it. But sometimes we do find ourselves looking back, whether we meant to do so or not. Sometimes we find ourselves reminiscing on moments long gone but still embedded in memory. What triggers such reflection, particularly such experiences of nostalgia? Well, not surprisingly, periods of personal transition often flip the nostalgia switch in our brains. Weddings, graduations, milestone birthdays, funerals. Predictably, such moments usually evoke memories related to how we got to that point. Memories usually laced with both awe and grief as we perhaps acknowledge the love and the loss, the hope and despair, joy and sorrow in our lives, but also the bittersweet reality of the passage of time, a universal phenomenon over which we have no control. A poignant song from The Fiddler on the Roof comes to mind. Thank you, Jamie. You'll recognize the lyrics. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. Swiftly fly the years, one season following another, laden with happiness and tears. Yet, culturally, nostalgia gets kind of a bad rap, for it's an emotion usually associated with unwarranted, perhaps self-indulgent sentimentality and unfulfilling, or unfulfillable even, yearning for something lost. In fact, a 17th century Swiss physician first used the term to describe what he saw as a mental disorder when he exhibited soldiers having or talking about a painful longing to return home. So what value could there be in the seemingly fruitless endeavor of looking back, not forward? As the book of Corinthians avers, we're supposed to put the ways of childhood behind us. to pack away the past and get on with the business of being responsible grown-ups in the world, whatever that means. But 21st century research on nostalgia suggests that this universally experienced emotion is actually quite complex and potentially affirming, as the nostalgic experience offers a tangible sense of continuity with the past. So those open to feelings of nostalgia may actually find comfort and sustenance, particularly as we deal with major transitions in our life. Psychologist Christine Bacho has found that nostalgia can serve a number of existential functions, such as connecting us with others by bringing into relief, quote, what bonds us to the most important people in our life, our parents, our siblings, our friends. And she goes on to say, it can serve a deeply personal purpose by motivating us to remember the past in our own life, and therefore to unite us to that authentic self, reminding us that who we have been is inextricably linked to who we are today. So why am I talking about nostalgia today? Well, you see the AA's Touchstone theme for November is Remembrance. And to tell you the truth, I feel like I've been mired in remembrance recently. Reminiscence, memory, nostalgia, and lots of stuff. Stuff from the house that Jeff, Anna, Sophie, and I called home for 23 years and sold just last year. Stuff from the homes of Jeff's mom and dad, who passed away in 2017 and 2019. And stuff, so much stuff. Jeff's back there going, so much stuff from my childhood home, which my brother Ben and I sold this past July. I feel like sorting, donating, tossing, and lingering over things has defined my life the last few years, requiring me to plant one foot, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes indulgently, in the past, and one squarely in the future. So my foray into the past seems to be winding down. Big sigh of relief from the husband corner back there. So I welcomed this assignment to reflect on these experiences and to explore and appreciate the meanings that they invoke. I know many of you are nodding in recognition. You too have faced the inevitable transitional moment of emptying a family home, a now uninhabited space that somehow resonates still with long past joy and love, with song and unabashed laughter, and with anger and tears. And I know too that some of you are years away from such an endeavor. But regardless of where you are now, Professor Bacho affirms that we will all at some point or another receive an invitation from the cosmos through some anticipated or unanticipated life transition, to metaphorically excavate our own pasts, to revisit what was, who we loved, who we were, and ultimately to appreciate who we are and who we may become years from now. So, make sure it's showing up. Hang on a second. There we go. So a few years ago, the health of both my parents declined dramatically, requiring them to move into the Veterans Home in Quincy, Illinois, the Mississippi River town where my father grew up and where the two of them began their life together in 1958. They bought the white frame house on Main Street in 1965, where they raised my brother Ben and me. And after they both passed away in January of 2021, we braced ourselves for the practical challenges as well as the emotional tsunami of preparing to sell the house. In my regular trips to Quincy to face those challenges, the detours into memory and nostalgia multiplied. As I dug through closets and boxes in the deep recesses of a hot attic, I found a sometimes delightful, sometimes puzzling, sometimes illuminating assortment of stuff, haphazardly curated, mostly by my mom, but also a bit by me. And in going through these things, I found myself in touch with someone I hadn't thought about in years, my younger self. For example, in one of my parents' jam-packed filing cabinets in an unmarked folder next to the 1985 income tax returns, I found a stack of schoolwork generated by my brother and me in 1969, when I was 7.5 years old and Ben was 9. So my mind did a U-turn from, are we going to need a bigger shredder, to I'm going to need a cup of tea. I looked over the 20 or so yellowing elementary school-lined papers and could almost smell my second grade classroom in Madison School, just down the street. I could practically feel the force with which I clutched an oversized number 2 pencil awkwardly in my hand. And I found myself wondering, who was this little girl who became me? Well, among these earnestly written artifacts were the following: a reflection on having a brother, in which I can see that it would be nice to have a sister, but I would be, quote, sad, yes, sad, if I didn't have a brother. And there's a story, about a monstrous man who goes around eating tables and chairs and purses, and no one, not even the boy with the whistle, can stop him until he encounters a little girl who, quote, slapped him and he got conked out. Then the girl said, see how weak boys are and see how strong girls are. The end. So apparently I appreciated my brother, but I was also not going to wait around for him or any other boy to save the day. And remember when the school curriculum included the epistolary arts? Well, most embarrassing and amusing of all is a letter to my parents about the recent elections. Yes, I said recent elections, which I realize is a topic few second graders would take on. So this find resurrected a slew of memories from deep in the recesses of my mind. So you see, here's the backstory. Several family friends, including Democrat Elma McClain and Republican Bob Beer, more on them later, were involved in local politics. And I suddenly recalled the many autumn days when we would pile into the family station wagon and caravan to the small towns around Adams County, Liberty, Minden, Camp Point, to campaign for these friends. At the end of the day, we'd gather at the Paloma Cafe for pork tenderloin sandwiches and pie. At the time, my parents, and this is kind of a long story, not for today, but my parents were Republicans. So that's the backstory. Here's the letter. Dear parents, I like Mr. Nixon. I'm glad he's president. He will be a good president. I said it was embarrassing. I'm glad McClain won. I'm glad Beer won. I have fun in school. Dad, teach me how to tell time. Love, Susan. Well, you can see that as a wee lass, I may have had questionable judgment on Richard Nixon. I was 7.5. But I did have my other priorities in order. And I had a big antique trunk, an ancient family heirloom in my childhood bedroom in which I would toss things my child and teenage self couldn't imagine throwing away. I'm sure you all know the kinds of things I'm talking about. Ticket stubs, notes passed among friends in school, my rock collection from summer vacations in Wisconsin, birthday cards from my grandmothers, signed in their beautiful and distinctive cursive, posters of the Mod Squad, and Davy Jones, and John Denver, for whom I continue to have a deep and unapologetic affection, by the way. We'll talk later. And stacks of diaries kept with varying degrees of faithfulness from about 3rd grade through college. These artifacts, especially the often barely legible diaries, affirmed that young Susan was, no surprise here, an earnest student who read Nancy Drew books with the flashlight long past bedtime, a daughter and sister who couldn't imagine being in any other family, and a little girl scared of lightning and the flying monkeys in The Wizard of Oz, and a whole bunch of other things. I rediscovered a child and then young woman navigating the turbulent 60s and me 70s, full of predictable contradictions. She wrestled with angst and uncertainty. She could be whiny and jealous, and she often expressed a vague desire to be prettier, more popular, and better at just a lot of things. But she also reflected a clear loyalty and unwavering affection for her posse of friends, and she often expressed an admirable curiosity and strong feelings of gratitude. And the child I rediscovered was regularly stunned by something consistently close to awe. A little girl who, instead of praying conventionally like her Catholic friends down the street, looked out the window every single night and gazed into the mystery of the starry sky with reverent wonder. I don't want to take you any further into the minutiae of my personal past. You've probably heard enough already. But what I thought you might find interesting, as did I, is that it felt good to reacquaint myself with, well, my younger self, and to say, hey, kiddo, here you are. Of course, as I sorted through piles of dusty memorabilia, I was aware of the appeal and potential danger of retreating into a romanticized past, especially since my childhood was relatively free of major pain or trauma or adverse childhood experiences. And I recognize and am grateful for the privilege of such a childhood. But researchers do suggest that even those with traumatic memories may find comfort and strength in acknowledging that resilient child in themselves. As one researcher noted, quote, nostalgic stories may often start badly with some kind of problem, but then they tend to end well, thanks to help from someone close to you. So you may end up with a stronger feeling of belonging and affiliation, and you may become more generous and open towards others, end quote. And when we share our feelings of nostalgia, we are nurturing a positive response to emotion and avoiding a sense of dislocation or loss, as acknowledging that bittersweet connection to our past, quote, assures us that we are valued people who have meaningful lives. In his book, Lifecraft, UU minister Forrest Church articulates a similar idea. He writes this: we are free to choose and therefore to change and grow with each passing day. We are also free to use memories in ways that will invest our lives with meaning, sustaining rather than diminishing our self-image, and accordingly our hopes. We can dwell on our failures or losses, refusing to let go of the darker side of our past. But this is like saving only the pictures we hate, darkening our walls, ruining our scrapbooks. Or we can do the opposite and keep alive fond memories. Professor Baccio concurs, citing her own studies that show that, quote, nostalgic reminiscence can be a stabilizing force. Such memories may often be triggered by objects, like the papers I found, or photos, or jewelry, or an old handkerchief. Or they may come to the surface when we encounter some other sensory element, like the smell of apple pie baking in the oven, or strains of a song we associate with a particular place or time or person. But the nostalgia we feel really doesn't have much to do with the object itself. Rather, it ultimately calls to mind positive and affirming relationships, thus reinforcing feelings of love and support, of resilience and continuity. And while those feelings of love and support often relate to other people, our parents, our siblings, maybe an uncle or friend or teacher, why shouldn't those feelings relate to ourselves too, to the self we were, the self who also reminds us of love and support, resilience and continuity that we probably didn't realize we had when we were 5 or 10 or 15 or even 25 years old? In revisiting my younger self, I am struck by the impulse to hug her, to laugh with her, to cry with her, to sit with her under the rainbow she painted on her bedroom wall and get lost in a good book. But I also want to simply appreciate her, to acknowledge her authenticity, her hopefulness, her absolute love for her family and friends, and for this beautiful world. And we may take this exercise in another direction. The unexpected pleasure of reacquainting my middle-aged self with my younger self also got me thinking about future Susan, about what I'd like to share with her. The future is relative, I know, but come with me. Try to imagine your future self. What would you like him or her or them to know of love and support, of the resilience and continuity that you feel now? Take a moment and project ahead. What would you like to share with you? During the long process of clearing out and selling not just my childhood home, but the home in which Jeff and I raised our children, I celebrated several birthdays, including a big one. Well, more than ever, I have become mindful of the Western practice of regarding birthdays as a ceremonial closing of the past year, another almost insistent opportunity to reinvent ourselves anew. Now I think rather than shutting the door on the past in order to move into the future, I'd like to honor the threads of resilience and love and memory connecting past and future, to fortify that interdependent web within me, within each of us. So perhaps we might adopt the Buddhist practice of celebrating not the closing of one year and the opening of another, but the continuation of our lives. Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh explains that instead of saying happy birthday, Buddhists sing happy continuation day. He writes this: the day you call your birthday is really a day to remember your continuation. Every day you are alive is a continuation day. Some part of you has been born and some part of you is dying. And therein lies the bittersweet resonance of nostalgia. A thing, a time, a moment, a relationship was beautifully and full of love, and it is no more, beautifully and full of love. And yet the connection remains, beautifully and full of love. So, to that silly, awkward, curious child from last century, I'd like to say, let's go, my friend. Let's go forward into the world and see what we can do together. Thank you. And now I'd ask you to rise in body or spirit as you are able and join us in singing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
This is the time in the service when we invite each other to share our resources and continue the work of this church. You might say this is the time when we remember what this church means to us, what it's always meant to us, and what it will mean to us in the future. Let's say these offering words together. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with the people around us, and with all the world. Thank you for your generosity, and the offering will now be received. Please join as we extinguish the chalice with these words written by Becky Laurent. As flame is to spirit, so spirit is to breath, and breath to song. Though we extinguish the flame in this sanctuary, may we tend it in our hearts until we meet again.
was beautiful. Thank you. Our benediction words are actually lyrics from the piece you heard earlier by the celebration singer. The lyrics are by Brian Tate. May your light shine before you. May your love grow within you. May your spirit soar above you. And may you walk in peace.